Hey yo, Pyra Draculea here, and I had intended in January to start a little, I should wave, hello. Um, I'd intended to start in January with a little series called Work With Me, like a weekly video showing what I'm painting or whatever. But, and you can maybe tell by the way I'm talking, that I'm kind of sick right now. I'm actually normally on a Wednesday morning I'd have a painting class that I'm taking at my local arts council, but I decided to keep my filthy germs to myself. So I'm going to work on this painting at home, and that means I'm starting the video series now, I guess. So what we have here is our friend Ricky B, the rock and roll rat. Now, if you've seen my previous painting videos, you may have seen the vote for Myles. Myles is the half mouse, half rat cousin of Ricky's girlfriend, Baby. So now it's time to work on Ricky. Now, what he is doing, I will, no, not really scroll, pan down, I guess is the proper term. He's painting a still life. Now, the still life is loosely based, well, it's not loosely, it's tightly based on one by Floris Van Dyck from the 1600s. Let me, oh, interesting. Hang on. I have to go get my reference pics. One moment, I'll flash them in front. So that is a printout. Actually, what I'll probably do is insert a good version, a digital version. We were kind of suggested to, whatever painting we did in this class, to make it a, to make it a reference, something from art history. The other thing is Ricky's poster, and that is a play on an old Roy Lichtenstein poster he did for some guy Moffat who was running for senator. Now, in that case, it was jobs, not cheese. But, Ricky, oh no, Ricky's work ethic. Well, he does work hard. He's a runner at a recording studio, and that means he's always out fetching beer and pizza and other substances for the guys in the recording studio. So he does work hard, but jobs suck, right? So, and he's a rat. He likes cheese. Now, I realize that real rats, you're not actually supposed to feed them cheese. It's kind of bad for them. But some rats like it, some rats don't. But in Ricky's world, all rats adore cheese because we go with the Western stereotypes, right? So, so in Ricky's case, I'm going to change that so it says cheese, not jobs. So there's two art history references in this. This, by the way, is a class I'm taking with Mitchell Villa, who's a painter based out of Victoria, and who's been teaching for a while. I've taken a few classes with him. He's pretty awesome. So anyways, I goobered up all this stuff, plus a photo I took in the workshop space with blank canvas on an easel. So that's the reference that I cobbled together. I did this in Procreate. So Ricky, I just, for here, just a line work because I knew I'd figure it out there. So there's a table in the background. I added a pizza box in the actual one because, I changed, I think it was olives or something that were on this plate. I figured, well, let's, like it says in the reference, pizza. So anyway, some changes have been made. And also, you'll notice there's a toy wind-up mouse there. Because one of the things I was trying to figure out is how do we make this cheese actually look like cheese and not like bread? Because in the reference, I don't know how well it shows up, but it's cheese, sort of. Well, I know that's cheese. I'm guessing that's cheese. It kind of looks like more like pumpernickel, whatever. I also added a bottle of Jack Daniels, but in Ricky's world, it's Rat Daniels Rattacy whiskey, not Jack Daniels Tennessee whiskey. Anyways, I was having a problem where that bread roll was looking too much like that cheese, and anyways, Mitchell kind of suggested, well, in the olden days they'd put a mouse in, and I'm like, well, would there be actual? Because he's 5'11", like he's like he's a rat dude, but he's more of a. Thank you, phone. Sorry, I guess that's picking up where I didn't put my phone on silent. But anyways, he's a full-size human with rat characteristics. I haven't drawn in his whiskers yet, but that's going to be the last thing. Because I did that too early on the vote for Myles thing, and I had to paint around them because I wasn't happy with his skin tone. It was very annoying. So, anyways, Ricky's not getting his whiskers, just like he's not getting his eyebrows, eyelashes, and pupils till the very end. But I had to decide, would there be like mice in the rat dude and mouse dude world? And it's like, well, probably what we'd have would be voles or shrews, like something similar, but you know, because the mice people have their own cities and stuff like that, and they're shorter. They like Myles comes up to Ricky's chin height, and then Myles is a head taller than the other mice, so the mice would come up to Ricky's waist. I'm kind of trying to aim this in the viewfinder, like that tall. So having a little mouse, maybe not so much. But then I thought, well, what if it was a toy mouse? So there we have it. Plus that brings, I should actually aim at the toy mouse and zoom in on it. There we go. It's just roughed in because I just did this a few days ago. It brings in the pink from Ricky's ears, because you kind of want to have colors repeat, right? So anyways, I've got a sort of a to-do list for today. I don't know if it'll all get done, but for this class, we're actually having a teeny tiny mini exhibition of our paintings at the end of the class. I think it's only for a day or two, but it's in the Annex Gallery at Cowichan Valley Arts Council. So it needs to be done soon. Did I say at the beginning of the video? I think I said at the beginning of the video, and if you can't tell by my voice, I have a cold. I'm not going into my painting class today. I'm keeping my germs at home, but I am going to paint on this because it needs to be finished actually basically by the weekend, because then next week's class we kind of have sort of a group critique, but you know, kind of is there anything I'm missing kind of once over. And then it's varnishing time, so that has a week to dry before the exhibition, right? So anyways, I've got to get my ass in gear and finish this. Now, I am not going to be doing it up like Mr. Van Dyck did in the 1600s. It is not going to look like that when it's done. I have a very loose... I believe if the Cope term is painterly, you know, like not finished, style. But yeah, anyways, I want to get some work done on this. I'm probably going to be working on this several hours today, so I'm not actually going to film the whole thing because, first of all, I don't want to have to edit a video like that long, and secondly, nobody's going to want to watch it. So we are going to film probably about the first hour or so, and then we'll call it quits. And what I'm going to do, by the way, because I am getting over a cold, if there's sudden jump cuts, it probably means I was in a coughing fit or blowing wads of snot out of my nose, and nobody needs to hear that or see it, so we will just have a jump cut when that happens. And also, because I'll talk as I'm going. I'm not mic'd up today because nobody needs to hear my heavy breathing, because it's not the sexy kind of heavy breathing right now, it's the plugged nose kind of heavy breathing. So, anyways, what I'm going to do is patch in some nice classical music or whatnot. I don't know that Ricky really likes classical. He seems more like a Sid Vicious wannabe kind of dude, but, you know, the fact that he's painting at all... Now, granted, we can't see his canvas. He may be terrible at this, but... You know, he may be drawing the cheese equivalent of stick figures, but, well, then it's a modern art masterpiece that he's making, and we'll never know. But, anyways, Ricky's a little more cultured than he lets on. But, you know, he doesn't want people to think he's a nerd, so... Anyways, we'll patch in some music. I'll fade it in and out if I have anything coherent to say. And let's get painting, eh? Anyways, by the way, that's not a black hole out there. That's my living room, but it's not lit up. So I think the first thing I want to start on, I'll zoom in, is this little shed. My viewfinder's backwards. this little shadow area. So I was trying to make it a darker color, but when I look at the reference, well, actually it's slightly darker, but this is like, I used the wrong color paint there. So if memory serves, this is actually just Titan Buff. Come on, zoom, there we go. So I'm gonna fill that in and kind of, there's a bit of a shadow of the table top, and I'm gonna try and make that shape, kind of leaving that as it is maybe, and but lightening up the bottom. And this, I mean, it kind of, the problem when you have multiple lights, because this photo was taken in the workshop space at CVAC, Country Valley Arts Council, so there's track lighting all along, so there's multiple lights and very complex shadows, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but that's what supposedly makes it interesting to paint, right? So, can I get the lid off the thing without ripping the skin off my fingers? I will say, like, this is an older golden paint tube. Where are the new ones? This, can you see? It's got little Sharpie things. Now, it's not as bad as back in the Grumbacher had ones that were like really scooped out that would really rip your hands open, but this is the new style of golden. It's like, oh, hey, our customers would like to keep the skin on their hands. Yeah, thank you. Anyways, of course, this is fluorescent pink. We're not really going to use that because I don't know how light fast. Yeah, well, I dropped it. We'll get it back later. Some of the fluorescents really aren't light fast, so anyways, I gotta do this clever trick. Use paper towel, and then the paper towel rips, not your skin. I know there's little pliers and stuff you can use for this sort of thing as well. I have some, but where did I put them? I don't know. So, who knows? I mean, I'm buying now. There should already be some classical music pasted in underneath, but I may be blathering through the whole thing, which would probably be unpleasant for both of us, so I'll try not to. Oh yeah, that's way better. And because this paint isn't super opaque, like the, you want to call it work or whatever, the color that's underneath there is still going to hint through a little bit, and you can even see as it's drying, like that's coming through more. But it's making it match better, right? And if you're wondering about, am I going to fill in all of these little areas, like here where there's little bits of green, let me zoom in even further, like that. No. One of the reasons why I go over my canvas initially with some sort of color is because my painting style since high school, and maybe you could say this is lazy or whatever, but it's always been to spit on your pinky finger removes a lot of mistakes if you do it quickly enough. This is obviously acrylic. Oil, I guess you could try and do that with oil, but I do like oil paint, but for this, because I'm moving it back and forth out of my studio, and like down the line, my ambition would be to completely change over to oil paint. The problem is that you have to have the drying capabilities for it. Which is to say, you need racks and stuff like that, and places where your kids can hang out and do nothing for a while. So, it's looking better already. But that's also kind of, there's a couple levels, like this is a darker shadow than that. So I think I'm actually going to go over the whole thing like that, and then do this area twice. And that'll, anyways, what was I saying? So, like, just kind of dry brush it, maybe that'll work enough. So yeah, if you're gonna be doing oil, like you kind of need spaces for your stuff to dry. And my house isn't bad in terms of size, because I live in a small town where real estate is not cheap, but relatively cheap, and it was cheaper when I bought the house almost, God, it's getting close to 10 years now. But still, I don't have like a garage or something where I could set up just like a drying area for paint. So maybe someday I'll sell enough paintings and be able to afford to have a studio space that has like drying racks and stuff for canvases. That would be pretty rad, but it's also not going to be anytime soon. Oh yeah, so what I was saying with the green, I've always tended to get close to my outlines, but not completely cover them. So I used to have the dreaded white canvas showing through, and what I kind of realized eventually was that one way to handle that is to put an underpainting color that covers the whole thing. If that shows up, and what I try and do, because I knew I was going to have greens and pinks and whatnot, or oranges and pinks, what am I say? Therefore, I chose green with a bluish tint for the color wheel oppositional stuff. Hey Pyra, you should probably shut up and let the classical music do its thing, and then you could have a little Ricola moment. And yeah. Anyways, so I made it kind of a stylistic thing, basically, because it's kind of the secret, I think, to good painters is, I mean, obviously you should have technical skills and whatnot, that's important, but if you can also take your common screw-ups and make them somehow stylistic, then it looks like it's all intentional, right? So here, because I want to lighten it, but I don't want it to go back to the wall color, I'm like kind of scrubbing it in to the point where it's like a dry brush, and that thins out the paint. It looks way better, so. Now, one thing I will say, you can sort of see it in there. So here you can still see the weave of the canvas through. I did not do any sort of additional gesso on this painting, on this canvas. I just grabbed it and started painting on it. So, like with the undercoat. But if you want to get rid of that canvas texture, what you should do, and I've done it on other, I was lazy, so, and I was lazy and wanted to start working, so that's why I don't have it on here. But if you get, like, the canvases all come pre-gessoed, but it's spray gesso, so you have, I'm pointing apart, that's not in focus. So if you have, I'm still pointing apart, that's not focus. Okay, it's really tiny. But if you have this sort of texture, it'll still be there because they spray the gesso, and it's what gesso is these days is not traditional gesso. It's white acrylic paint that's extra goopy. So, anyways, and when they do it in the factory, because they're spraying it, it's thin, so the canvas still shows. Traditionally, gesso was chalk dust, and then it had it was bound together and attached to the canvas with rabbit skin glue. And you can still get those components. It's difficult to get now, but it's still available. When I was, once upon a time in the 90s, when I was first went to art school and crashed and burned in my first foundation term and left Emily Carr. But that's a story for another day when I have more throat power. But back in the 90s, you could go into Opus and Granville Island, but they had the packets of the powdered dust, the powdered chalk dust, and then they had dried rabbit skin gelatin. I mean, they called it gelatin, whatever, but it was made from rabbit skins. They had it traditional. You could buy them and mix them together, and etc. I think even into the 2000s. Now I don't know if they still stock that stuff. Other specialty art stores, like you can get it online or whatnot. But the point is, this stuff doesn't. What it's done now is it's basically white acrylic paint that's sprayed onto the canvas, so it doesn't cover the texture. You can buy your own gesso, like in the big tubs and stuff, and I do have a bunch. And then you get a big ass, you can use a flat brush, like a big brush like that. You can see this is like almost 3 inches wide. But you can apply gesso on top of the pre-gesso, and then you would have brush strokes. I mean, some people will sand it in between or whatever. Like traditionally, you would do that too. But you could apply one coat this way, let it dry, another coat this way, let it dry, and then you're probably not going to have the canvas texture showing through in that case, right? And then you would have your underpainting, whatever. I didn't do that. So that's why we have a lot of that texture here. That's something for my next paintings I need to be better at. So the other thing you'll see poking through in some spots, which again, I try and make it a stylistic thing, which will happen more at the very last stage, but I'm certain. Oh no, we can see it. You can sort of see. I can see it in the viewfinder, so I'm assuming it shows up on screen. And these are grid lines because I don't have a projector, so in the reference thing, you see I had all my little lines, and then I drew it what was in each square. I did it with a acrylic paint pen. Make sure it's an acrylic paint pen. Don't do this with a Sharpie or a pencil. If you do it with a pencil will eventually float up, especially if you're working in oil. But I did that drawing. I can in some places still see it. But what I'm going to do, in some places I'll go over, like here I'll probably go over that again to try and dumb it down. But in other places, what I'm going to do on the very top layer is go over with paint pens and add some subtle markings here. You can kind of see the heart and Ricky thinking. So there's going to be drawing with those acrylic paint pens over the top when it's finished, and I think that will disguise the grid. And there's another painting I have of another character of mine, Noah, from Noah's Archipelago, my webcomic, where I actually did like crisscrossy kind of lines. I mean, it's not finished yet, but there's, in different layers, I've taken like a crisscrossy motif like that, and then I've added like almost like a tic-tac-toe, and then it sort of, so it's like paint a bit, add some of that texture, paint a bit, so it's kind of like in and out. And that's another way to, again, what did I say earlier, take your common screw-ups and make them stylistic. Anyway, so I think I think I fixed this area. Now, so the table was one of the things, pizza box I think is fun. This, I'm going to add the lines with paint pens at the ends. Not sponsored by Ricola, obviously, but it is awesome. Honey lemon echinacea is the best flavor. Of course, when you're not sick, they taste disgusting, but when you're sick, they're awesome. So I do have a reference image that I just printed out because it was on my phone. This is from like Amazon or whatever. Now, it's a reference, but it's basically for the lights and shadows. I'm not going to give the same thing the same face. Because, you know, you get into some potential issues. If memory serves, what I used was a little bit of titanium white and rose red. Now, Stevenson, this company doesn't exist anymore. All my Stevenson paints are almost out. A little bit of Liquitex. And we're going to mix the pink and start doing some mucking about. I'm not going to make it look exactly like the reference toy, but it was more for shape. So I'm using my remaining Titan buff mixed with the Liquitex. I'm kind of holding that. Yeah, it's alright. So the Liquitex pink is in the grapes and a couple other spots. It's not so much in his ears, but I think the ear color is kind of on the top. Because the thing is, like, I want it to look plastic, but it also needs to match, sort of, if that makes sense. So that. And I'm going to add a little bit of that rose red to darken it to have a shadow on the bottom. And again, I don't tend to get super detailed in this stuff. Like, I am not a photorealistic painter. If I go over a little bit into here, like, that vessel is kind of realistic from a distance when you get up, and it's like, oh yeah, that's very quote-unquote painterly, right? So I want it to look a little bit slick, and some of that will be done with like white paint pen over the top at the end. But I also want it to look a little bit not realistically plastic, if that makes sense. By the way, the brushes I'm using are actually cheap-ass brushes from a brand called Montmort. Yeah, so This is a set that I got actually here in Canada. It's Winners and Home Sense, but I think in America they call it Home Goods and TJ Maxx. But in the last number of years, they've had like a little section that's art supplies. And, you know, I'm rough on my brushes. I treat them like crap. I do have a few that I still have from like the high school in the 90s that were like expensive brushes back then. Grumbacher, this one I've had since the 90s. There's a couple others. But mostly I treat them like crap. So what I did was I got a set of those, and I like brushes. Like here's a, yeah, that's like a acrylic oil one that I got from Opus years ago. But I like the ones with the really short bristles. Because I find the longer ones, granted, because I do cheap ones, they splay out like this. Like that will not hold an edge, right? This is from Michael's Artist Loft. Now sometimes, especially if you're doing backgrounds and textures, this is useful. If you're doing detail work, it's a pain in the ass. Like this is another Artist Loft one, right? And they don't hold an edge and whatnot. But what I noticed was the shorter ones. So anyways, the set of the Malt Mart, they had longer bristles, like the more expensive ones. Well, and this is not a cheap brush, Flat Windsor Newton. I mean, it's not the most expensive, but you can see. It's like that. These had bristles that long. I just was like, well, they're cheap and it doesn't matter. Why don't I just cut them? Because this is the stiffer portion, and then they hold the edge, and it's better. So, again, cheap-ass brushes, and just modify them. Anyways, so I think our little mousey is kind of, well, right there. He needs his little wind-up thingamajig. So, very technical term. So, I need some gray, which means I need to find some gray. Anyways, so, what was I saying? So yeah, cheap-ass brushes and muck with them. But yeah, our mousey is as done as he's going to be until I go over things at the very end with paint pens. And who knows, if I get to that point today, which is possible, I guess I would do a new video, and then I would post that next week. But we'll see. I might be doing it next week in class, and then I won't film. Because, you know, there's other people around me. You don't want to be the weirdo. Like, I need content from YouTube. I mean, I filmed reels in classes and stuff. I just do it with my phone, and I'm very, like, I have a small little tripod thingamajig. Very technical term, thingamajig. But anyways, I have a little tripod-y sort of thing, and so I'll kind of set it up between me and the camera. And my phone will has a pretty short focal length that it's capable of, so I sort of surreptitiously film reels that way if need be. But yes, I need to clean that brush because I don't have a smaller one that's cut off. But anyways, so that's how I'll film reels, but something like this where I'm talking with them and I don't do that in class, that would be obnoxious and inconsiderate and all the rest. So, but I might get to that point either today or tomorrow, in which case I will film that, because that's kind of fun. Good enough. And then so the tablecloth is also tightened off. It might be Naples yellow light, but I think no, it's the same color as that. So I want to fix up this little area, the tablecloth. So. Now, I will say, we've got messed up lighting in here. Because obviously when Floris Van Dyck was doing his still life, the light was that way, right? Shining on the objects. Actually, the light was here. Coming down this way because you can see all the shadows go back into the right. Hold on, is that a zapruder thing? Whatever, but the shadows are going that way. On the wall, the shadows are going this way, which is why we have this, right? And Ricky seems to be lit kind of from up here and down. I'm like wailing my hands around. So anyways, Ricky, because he's got his shadow here, which the next thing is I gotta mess with the skin tone. Ricky's light is this way, which makes for a weird looking painting, but it's also kind of realistic. Like, I'm where I am right now, and the sun has come up for what it's worth on the west coast at the end of November. But I have a light fixture up there that's got 4 lights in it. And they're each they're LEDs, but they're the 100-watt bulb equivalents. So that means I have random. I don't know, it probably doesn't show so much. I can see weird shadows coming up on the thing if I do that. Yeah, you can kind of see, but so it is kind of realistic, but it's also awkward as hell to paint. So whatever. Take it with a bit of a grain of salt. Oops. Remember, spit on your pinky. Clean up. Sort of. Cleans up some sins, but not a lot. It's okay, I just have to go over that. I still have to work on his jacket a little bit, so I'll pick that up later. Oh yeah, that's right, I wanted to fix the angle of his tape. Just a wee tiny bit. Not so much the hump, because his tail you would be able to curl it a bit, but there's an area where it was wider suddenly, and that was not good. So, anyways, like I was alluding to earlier, there's going to be paint pen drawing on top, so some of the stuff I can get away with because it's, it's not as mission critical, because the drawing will make things tighter, cleaner at the end. But yeah, so our next bag of tricks. Well, I mentioned the skin tone. So, unless I have some skin tony sort of colors on my palette. So, I know he looks so weird without pupils and whatnot, but if I'm messing with skin tone, I'm going to be messing with this stuff, so Might go over, yada yada yada. Anyways. So, I need to add some shadows here. This is obviously way too dark skin color, but what I'm going to do is go over some of this stuff and then later do the same thing I did under the table once this is dry and put the lighter color and I want to widen out this, you know, this needs to match, and you can probably tell this color is pretty sheer. Making this wider than it needs to be, by the way, because I gotta go over his hair again. Been getting some lessons on contouring from his girlfriend, maybe. He's a cosmetology student. Yeah. In the viewfinder, this looks, the pecs thing looks way too much, but yeah. We'll come back to it later this afternoon and blend it out a bit. He needs a belly button. I've also realized that, well, I guess his arm, he's not holding his arm down, he's probably reaching over and grabbing the canvas, like, so, can't see that, but never mind. His tail. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I forgot that his tail goes down there, so yeah, you see this part of the table, but it's not actually the wall color that needs to be there, it's the tail color. So then, we need to show in Ricky's fingers. But that is a job for the teenier brush. Is it hand in? Yes, it's hand in. So we go. One finger. Two fingers. No. I just realized this thumb's too long. So, remind myself. That is flat. That's where his actually. Now we let that dry, but then we look and see what else we can do with this color. Well, we're waiting for him to dry so I can go over with a lighter color, because he works in a recording studio, and there's a joke about Studio Tan, which is to say, if you see how light I am, and I see a lot more light of day now than I used to when I was tangentially the edge of the music industry, but these guys, Ricky would see more daylight than some of the guys who would never leave the studio and just go in and sit in front of a mixing board all day, because he's out running and getting beer and pizza and stuff, but he's not out in the sun very much. So let's paint some nuts, eh? Because I've got this color on here, so yeah. And then it kind of ties it together, because even though the other color is getting covered up, and I'm painting fairly thinly, so the connection between the start and the show for sure. Hey, there's my phone being obnoxious again. That's probably telling me it's 9 o'clock and I should be working on comics. I don't really update my iCal for when I have classes. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I just ignore it on days I'm in class. Serves this as a walnut, so but I like the clothes, so I'm trying to get the, the ridge that walnuts have around the outside. Actually, now that I think of it, I think this guy was a walnut as well, so bigger. This bunch was all filled with stuff. if I would say those are great nuts, but again, some of this will be detail that comes up more in terms of the acrylic marker stuff at the end. Now, I have a bunch of paint still, but I also have some wood in the in the easel that needs a little bit of touching up. But memory serves, this is basically raw sienna, so we'll mix in some more raw sienna so we'll get a shadow color. By the way, if anyone's wondering about easels and stuff, I just got this easel. It's off of Amazon. It was like $150 or something like that. Pretty sweet. Works pretty well. And can accommodate very large paintings. I think this will work. You should zoom out so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's Viswin. It's on Amazon, and you can. It's not that expensive actually. They had, I think, two by the same brand. One you could bring the thing up and then lay it flat if you want to paint horizontally, but it's like I have a dining room table and drop cloths, so like for me that didn't make any sense. So this one, but it's I'm really not using the full capacity of this. This could do a canvas that was 7 feet tall. I stick to canvases that will actually fit in my car. But it's good to know. And it's detail sort of stuff on Ricky's easel, not my easel. So now, I don't know how well this is going to show. I tend to wrap my paint around the edges. I have tried in the past to keep the edges white, to use masking tape, to paint them black afterwards. It all looks bad. For me. Other painters can manage to do that and it looks great. I always botch it. So that is why we do it this way in this studio. What's been kind of interesting since I started painting my cartoon characters is having this sort of thing where they're semi-realistic but not really. I mean, I want to go so far as to say I painted photorealistic in high school. I'm painting stuff that you can't see. But I painted fairly realistically in high school, which has always kind of been my style. But now I've done some stuff that's completely abstract and whatnot as well. So it's kind of like finding the I guess the tension or whatever, if you want to sound pretentious. You know, trying to sort of figure out how to make it look real-ish, real enough, right? So in some sense you could sort of say what I like to do is kind of a little dreamlike. So it sort of seems real, but it's also quite impossible. If that makes sense, or if it just sounds like I'm talking about my ass, but I guess since I'm wanting to be a little more serious about my painting going forward, I should probably do one of those pretentious artist manifesto statement kind of deals. There is a slot here, but I think I'm going to have that done with paint pen, because it's not going to look right if I'm trying to just, anyways, whatever. Even though I'll do the slot with the acrylic marker, I'm going to do the edge of this writing piece. Apparently. I'm going to have to make a lighter version of this too to pick up some highlights. I might do that next. Hinge thingy is. I'm probably going to end up blocking this, but and yeah, you're getting a view of all my messy quilt pattern storage there. And I haven't quilted in quite a while, but it is what it is now. Some of this thing to do it will be a bit awkward because I want to get around the back side of this. And also, I was not super realistic about where things were going here. So you should have some like canvas showing, the back of the canvas showing. this kind of mess, especially what we get down here, is a major argument for actually for not wrapping the paint. This is not in the reference photo, so I'm kind of guessing. But so I probably should put in. Actually, I might have just enough of it left. But it's still kind of. Hang on. Stay tuned. We are going to look with the floor. It has a bit of a purplish color, so I think it's mostly gray. We haven't actually mixed the proper floor color, but we're gonna just fake it. Things get distorted. The other thing is, it's distorted, I noticed with this, because of perspective. When I was drawing it on the grid, it's actually not the same. It's wider at the bottom than it is on the top because the camera angle, that's narrowing, this is getting closer. It's made my brain hurt, but whatever. It's way better in the viewfinder. Anyways, we will just do a little bit of mucking around with this. This is just straight raw sienna. Oh yeah, it would help if I'm like showing what I'm doing. The outside edges tend to stop being as realistic anyways, like, whatever. So what that canvas color is Naples yellow. I'm down to my last little bit of Stevenson. Stevenson went out of business like 2009, but that just is a testament to A, how much paint I hoard, B, how little I was painting at that point, from like, 2009 to 2012 I was doing music stuff, so like my paints are just sitting there, not really being used, so and I know there is an argument, paint does start to dry out and go bad, blah blah blah, that is true, you should use it up, but at the same time, it's not as true as some people like to claim. So, if you have oil paints, that's, I think, more of an issue. I'm only going to do this just because it's lazier and easier for me, but Like, I want some of the green to show through as a stylistic whatever, but there's kind of a bit too much still showing through. Naples yellow is one of those where you could mix your own anyways. It's more convenient to not mix it. The real reason why I did this is so I can get this edge where the canvas is showing on the side. That kind of gives the indication that it's going around. And now I will. I do need to make a little bit of a highlight color, so I'm going to use the Naples yellow and the Rossi for the wood. A smaller brush for now. goes. And the pizza, honestly, I might order pizza later as that's my excuse being so that I could take a reference photo of pizza and paint it that way. But yeah, we'll see. Well, now, I do know he's got pepperoni pizza, so let me go find. What was that sound? I see squirrels running around in my backyard, but they seem to be out in the yard where they wouldn't have knocked anything over, but who knows. My side gate is locked. You know, it's not the worst neighborhood, but it's not the greatest either, so yeah. Fix this mess because I started painting the goblet and I realized it's like going off to the side. So. But that's gonna be a whole other piece of wax paper for my palette because yeah. Been working with. I just use wax paper, the kind you get for the grocery store, and then I've got a little table down here, which is actually like a cart. Those 3-tier storage carts, you get them at Michael's, and then I got a top that goes on top of it so that I can make it a table. Okay, I just looked at my phone and I've been filming for like an hour and 10 minutes or something. I don't know if the video is going to be quite that long because there's going to be some edits. But I think that's a long enough video. So the goblet, I'm going to keep painting, I'm going to keep filming. But I'm going to make that a separate episode. So stay tuned for the goblet, and we might get into the poster, and then the next layer of Ricky's face as well. Because right now he looks like he sees far more sun than he actually does. So stay tuned for the next episode. Yeah, so, well, maybe I'll do a quick zoomed in sort of scan over of what we did this time. So, we mucked with Ricky's face, we made his forehead wider, we will fix the fact that it's going to, well, I mean, it's got to go into his hair, because his hair was coming too far in, but we will fix that up next time. So, yeah, just scroll down, Ricky. Ricky looks like he goes to the gym a lot more than he actually does. We will fix that and make it more realistic. Unless he bribes me to leave him looking like he's got pecs. But anyways, we put some pepperoni on his pizza. We worked on his little mouse toy. We worked on the nuts a tiny bit. Some background on the tablecloth. And then we did a bunch of work on this easel. Video head on my tripod, and sometimes it's a little sticky. And we wrapped stuff around the edge, but yeah, did a little on the canvas. So yeah, that's not bad for an amount of work. And stay tuned for the next episode, because like I said, I'm probably gonna have a cup of tea and then I'll keep painting, but I will be continuing painting on this. And I might as well film it, so when you see me working on the goblet, well, you're a week behind, but you know. So I'll post that episode next Wednesday, and then we'll see how long that takes, but who knows, maybe I'll get 3 episodes done, and that'll take me almost, well, not almost to Christmas, but you know, to the first week of December. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time.